to give feedback on a writing task or any task on a Google form, and then how your students would be able to look at the your feedback. The first thing you do when you're creating a form, make sure you go on settings and you make it as a quiz. And when you make it as a quiz, you make sure that you have later of feedback release grade later after manual review, and in your in your general you should collect email addresses and limit one response, and then you save. Now when you're creating a form, you can create it in 2 sections or you can create it in 1 section, whatever way you want it to do. I created this form in 2 sections, and I have given them a writing task, and I have given them all the module, the task. What is the task? The task is they have to write an email, and they have to then, I have already showed my students the criteria. This is the criteria that is in the section 2. Make sure when you're making the criteria, you don't make it required, because if you make it required, this is only for you. Your students will not be able to submit the form. So when you're creating this form, you should not make it required at that time. After all that, your form is ready for submit. Your student will be able to look at the form. Okay, let me go here. Yes. So your student will write their name. They will write a small paragraph. Your task is write a paragraph about Canada. And then you have your short section 2, where the students have all the holistic criteria and the analytic criteria. Before the task, you can go through the criteria with them and let them know what does it mean and what are your scores for each criteria. For each criteria, I have 4 or 3. And I've explained over here that 4 means achieved, 3 means almost there, and 2 means somewhat, and 1 needs help. After this, when your students will look at it, but make sure that you are not making it required. If you make it required, your students will not be able to submit the task. Now, my students, as I have sent it to myself, and this is what I have done, and I have marked it. What you're doing, you're giving a comment. You look over here, individual feedback. You write a comment for your student, any comment. You can, for example, write, next time, make sure to check your work before submitting, and save. Whatever you do, you will see you have to make sure that you save it. You save this, and now all of your work is done. I have given them comments, I've given them criteria. Now I'm going to release the score. As soon as I release the score, it will ask me to send the email to my student. So I will say send email to my student, and my student will get an email. So now I'm going to go as a student account in my Gmail account where I have sent the email, and I will see that I have got an email. I should have got an email. Yeah, score release. My student will get an email. Let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see. It will say score released, writing task held before. As a student, my student will open it, and I have already taught them how to go on view. They will click on view, and now this is what my student will see. They will see their score. It is 15 out of 19, and that they will see my individual feedback, that is from teacher. Canada should always start with capital letter. I have given them feedback. Next time, make sure to check your work before submitting. And in my holistic criteria, I said yes and S and 78%. I wrote that they passed the task with 78%. And then you can see that all of my individual feedback, wherever I have given them a feedback, is very clear for them to read. They can read it and they can understand it. And this is how you can give a feedback on your Google form, and your students will be able to see it. But make sure that you first thing you make it as a quiz. The second thing is you make it uh, you are collecting the email addresses, so you are able to return the task to their email addresses. And another thing is that you need to make sure that when you're doing your settings, you are doing the quiz, and later after manual review, you are not giving them answer score right away. You will give them the score afterwards. I hope it will help, and if you have any more questions, please feel free to text me or email me.